Turning now to the Israel-Hamas conflict. Israel announced new restrictions on West Bank Palestinians who want to visit the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem during Ramadan. And Lebanese militant group Hezbollah unleashed a flurry of rockets into northern Israel, drawing immediate retaliation. Associated Press correspondent David Biller reports from Jerusalem.
This morning we saw more than 100 projectiles fired from Lebanon by Hezbollah into Israel. It was one of the heaviest assaults since the war began, and Hezbollah said that it did hit Israeli military positions. These airstrikes killed 2 and injured another 20 or so. And Hezbollah, fired rockets in the afternoon, throughout the afternoon, and Israel, launched airstrikes on those launch sites. So, days like today, where there's kind of intense back and forth and heavy fire, underscores concern that the northern border of Israel could really erupt into more than just the sort of near daily exchanges back and forth, and into something much more intense. Hezbollah has said that it will cease its assaults on Israel if there is a ceasefire in Gaza. But Israel's defense minister just a few weeks ago said that even if Hezbollah were to cease its attacks, Israel would keep on going against Hezbollah in Lebanon. So, it underscores the concern that the northern border of Israel and with Hezbollah in Lebanon could erupt into something bigger. The other area to watch is here in Jerusalem, where I am. Just over my shoulder is the Old City. It's the site of the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is the third most holy site in all of Islam. I was there just over an hour ago, and there were thousands upon thousands of Muslims streaming in past me, and there's a report that 45,000 went to evening prayers. Israel announced that there will be restrictions for West Bank Palestinians. Only women over the age of 50, men over the age of 55, and children under 10 will be allowed in. For the time being, things remain peaceful, despite the fact that in past years, entrance into Al-Aqsa has caused clashes with Israeli forces, but things are calm for now. Right, a 19-year-old soldier, Itai Chen, was pronounced dead today by the Israeli forces, and they said that he actually died on October 7th, just outside Gaza, while protecting civilians. Until today, it was believed that he was one of the more than 250 hostages dragged into Gaza on October 7th. This came as a blow, first and foremost, to his family, but also to U.S. President Joe Biden. Chen was an Israeli and American citizen, and his brother and father had both met with Biden. Chen's parents also issued a statement. They're obviously, gutted by this news. Israel has repeatedly pressed Hamas for a list of living hostages in Gaza, and Hamas has refused to provide that. Of the more than 250 taken, more than 100 were released in November, and then roughly 130 are believed to still be in Gaza, although Israel believes that more than 30 of them have been killed. And today, 19-year-old Chen joins that list. David Biller with the Associated Press for CGTN in Jerusalem.
Joining us now to help delve into the situation in Gaza is Joshua Landis. He is director of the Center for Middle East Studies at the University of Oklahoma. Mr. Landis, thank you so much for joining us. 4 U.S. Army vessels have been deployed with soldiers and equipment to build a temporary port on Gaza's coast to facilitate air deliveries. How crucial is that option, and is it an adequate substitution for land corridors, in your opinion, sir?
Well, many people are saying it is not adequate. It'll take 2 months to build a pier and to begin moving food in. As we saw already, the Spaniards have begun moving some food in through tugboats from Cyprus, and that will help, but it's only a small supply. Only about 100 trucks a day have been getting in February, and ordinarily there'd be 500-600 trucks a day coming in. So the whole of Gaza is on starvation rations, even less than that. And America is talking about, putting this in through the sea, but it really needs to do is get it in from land entrances, because there are thousands of trucks that are ready to go in. But Israel is refusing to do it until they get their hostages back.
And what are the challenges of having this aid deliveries?
Well, the challenges are many. First of all, they have to build a pier, and that means sending workers in there. They've got 1,000 U.S. engineers and Marines that are supposed to go and build this pier, but many people are saying it's going to take a lot more than that. There's chaos, of course, in Gaza, and then you have to ship all the food through the sea, and this is going to be very bulky, and people are beginning to starve. Over 20 young children have starved so far in Gaza, and it could be much higher than that. That's what we know. But people are scavenging for food everywhere.
And why are the using sort of land routes to help deliver aid? It's something that the U.S. has sort of tried to veer away from. What are the challenges with using that route forward?
Well, Israel will not let the trucks in, and that's the impediment. Israel's withholding food as leverage to try to force Hamas to return the hostages.
Sir, how likely is it, in your opinion, that there will be any kind of ceasefire, even temporary ceasefire, during Ramadan between Israel and Hamas? Qatar, acting as a mediator, says it is highly unlikely.
It is unlikely. It's unlikely because we've heard that Netanyahu just today reiterated that he's not going to stop, that he intends to move into Rafah, and his premiership is on the line. He has said, we're going to destroy Hamas, and he wants to do it. And America is saying, you can't go into Rafah, and there should be a ceasefire and negotiations. And so everybody's at sixes and sevens and disagreeing over this. Hamas also does not want to give up any of the hostages before Israel withdraws. They know that their only leverage is those hostages. So they're unlikely to say yes. Netanyahu doesn't want to do so because his government could fall. And the United States, President Biden, as you know, is coming under increasing pressure from the international community and from his own constituency. He's got elections in November, and this is not popular in America. More and more Americans are beginning to complain that this is barbaric.
Absolutely,
and not pressuring Israel is a wrong move.
Absolutely. And we're in the holy month of Ramadan when, devout Muslims celebrate peace and they're fasting. It comes at a time, though, when a great portion of this population is facing catastrophic hunger and starvation. 500,000 at the brink of starvation. Children are dying from hunger. Can you describe what daily life there is during the time, at this time?
Well, as we've seen, there is no police force. There is no law and order, and people are beginning to scavenge, and that means breaking into homes, stealing food. We saw it with the food trucks that went in. There was no order. And when Hamas had sent police force to try to make an orderly division of the aid that was coming in, Israel killed the policeman. And this has, what we've got is a lawless territory with hungry people. And that is the worst of all situations to try to bring aid in. And America airlifted aid and dropped aid, but killed about 5 or 6 Palestinians because some of the parachutes didn't open and aid packages just fell and squished people on the ground. So the daily life is becoming more and more desperate, and people are beginning to behave very badly, as you would expect, when they begin to starve.
Do you think that there has been enough of a coordinated effort to, help these people who are just innocent civilians? What are the countries and organizations that are lending the most support, in your mind, to help needs on the ground in Gaza?
Well, we saw the Spaniards moving this food as a Spanish NGO is moving food from Cyprus to Israel. And that is, we need more effort like that of private initiatives and governments in Europe beginning to do things. Arab governments are trying to do it. Jordan has airlifted food in, but that's really symbolic. What really needs to happen is that the United States and President Biden needs to put pressure on Israel, which he could do very easily. Of course, it'll hurt him in elections and his campaign, and there'll be bloody criticism of him by many of his closest supporters if he does pressure Israel. So he's in a bit of a bind with the Arab Americans on the one hand and Jewish Americans and pro-Israeli Americans on the other hand. And as of now, the pro-Israeli Americans are a much bigger and more powerful force in the United States. And so the food is not getting in. Arab Americans are getting short shrift, and the Palestinians are dying.